Welcome to the Brew Crew Review Podcast, the show by fans for fans of your Milwaukee Brewers.
Welcome back, Brewer fans, to the Brew Crew Review Podcast. This is Craig. Joining me is Scott and Vince tonight. How are you guys doing?
Hey, Craig. Hey, Scotty.
Hey.
Is Chad on?
No, he said he had to celebrate the road trip by having, a little minor celebration. Might have a few beverages.
Well, all right. It's a cool night.
He deserves
whatever.
it. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's true.
Put in so much.
That's true.
Yeah, so the Brewers right now are first place, 13-9. Couple of games ahead of their division rivals throughout the division. And I don't know, guys, I know we talked about the difficult schedule at the beginning of the season, and not only the Brewers excelling in spite of that, but they're doing it lacking their former MVP, Christian Yelich, and also Lorenzo Cain has been out with injury, and they've even missed Colton Wong for a good portion of that as well. I guess what's your take on the keys to success?
I mean, what's really kind of stood out to me is the fact that it's been a combined team effort up and down the lineup. You've got contributions coming from guys that, even 3-4 weeks ago, we probably wouldn't be talking about or thought we'd be talking about on the show. And I'm thinking of guys like Billy McKinney, even guys who, we weren't really sure what to expect. A guy like Travis Shaw, I know he's come under some criticism, so, just because he's got a lower batting average, but he's actually leading the team with 3 home runs right now. I think he's got 15 RBIs at this point. So, looking at our lineup top to bottom, I think that we're a little deeper than maybe we expected going into the year.
Yeah, I think on the flip side, you could also just look at the pitching in general. I mean, not only obviously are we having absolutely dominant starts from Woodruff and Burns, but Peralta's done really well. And actually, we had that, little bit of a run there where it seemed like every pitcher was just going, 5-6 innings and blanking everybody or just allowing a run, and just a phenomenal job by everybody in the rotation. And then, on that road trip, we had, it seemed like just about every reliever stepped up. We saw a lot more from, obviously Josh Hader is going to do phenomenal things, but, Boxberger and Firestone, these guys were really stepping up. And, they weren't necessarily people that you would count on going into the year, but here they are and just doing a great job.
I thought we were just talking about the lineup, Scotty.
I just wanted to make a counter.
The pitch, no, you're right on. The pitching has just been absolutely incredible, and in our starting rotation. When you think back to, again, just a month ago, we were in spring training. I think that all three of us were agreed, and Chad as well on the show, about Freddie Peralta being a guy who should be in the rotation, but that wasn't a foregone conclusion. When the team reported to camp, it wasn't a foregone conclusion that Peralta was going to be in the rotation. A lot of people pegged him to be a bullpen arm. And I'm really happy so far with the results with Freddie up in the rotation.
Yeah, I think he's done a great job. The only thing he's really got to work on is his control. Way, way, way too many walks. I think he's walking 6 guys for every 9 innings. So, unfortunately, even if you have the ability to strike out, 13 people for 9 innings, like Peralta is able to do, you're just not going to be able to wiggle off the hook that many times. You just set yourself up. And not only that, but they always say when you have people on base in those pressure situations, add on you, those pitches kind of add to your pitch count a little bit more. They have more weight to them. He's pitching in a good amount of jams, unfortunately, but he keeps getting out of it. So, so far so good, I guess.
Yeah, and unlike in other years, a guy like Freddie can kind of develop even though he is in the rotation, and that's simply because of the dominance of Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns in the first 2 spots in the rotation. The pressure is not all on a guy like Peralta to just be an ace or to be that guy. I think that, for a number 3 starter, he's doing exceptionally well at this point. So, yeah, you're right, Scott. He's got to work on some control stuff. He has shown, though, an ability to evolve as a pitcher. When he came up, he was fastball Freddy. He was only throwing a fastball, and sometimes he threw it fast enough to get it, by major league hitters, and sometimes he didn't. But now he's a guy who's got 3-4 pitches that he can rely on, and it speaks to his ability to adapt and to learn and to evolve as a pitcher. And he's still a young guy, so I see a ton of upside with Freddie in the rotation.
Yeah, no, you guys are hitting the nail right on the head as far as just like our early season starting pitching has not only been historic on the Milwaukee Brewers front, but throughout Major League Baseball. That run to start the season, I think it was like 9 straight games, something like that, with all of our starters went 5 innings and like allowed a run or less or something, like Scott mentioned. It's pretty phenomenal. And we knew our offense was going to be an issue coming this season, and that's proven to be a point. But we are, like I said, missing a couple of key guys, and a couple of our other should be key guys like Keston Hiura in particular have really struggled out of the gate big time. And so the fact that we're winning in spite of that really is a testament to our overall pitching staff, including another strength, which is our bullpen. I guess another kudos to JP Fireeisen, who to me at this point looks like he's kind of solidified his role as maybe our 7th inning guy. And then of course we've got Devin Williams set up. He actually, there's a little bit of regression with him starting out the season, and took him a while to kind of get his legs under him, but he's looked really good his last couple outings, and I think he's got the 8th lockdown. Of course, Hader's still the best closer in baseball, in my opinion. So pretty exciting stuff. Obviously the injuries are frustrating, and now we've lost Brett Anderson here for a bit, most likely due to injury also. So I'm a little bit concerned with the Brewers' overall lack of starting pitching depth. But I should also point out that Josh Lindblom got placed on the IL as well. I don't know what phantom injury he came up with, but definitely was not getting any outs. So there's some.
Well, and it should be pointed out, if we're talking about transactions too, that in lieu of Lindblom and Anderson on the roster, they did recall Corey Ray, who made his big league debut this week, and Phil Bickford, who appeared in just 1 game last year, but would be making a second appearance when he gets into a game here this season.
Yeah, and I say Corey Ray, congratulations to him in his hometown of Chicago. He walked in his first major league at bat. I saw that. So congratulations to him. And again, we were kind of wondering, with our outfield depth, just even at the major league level, how and when Corey would see the field. But I guess that depth is getting tested pretty quick. I know Avisel Garcia even had to go out of the game this weekend for a bit. So, we're really having to dip into our outfield depth. And like Scott pointed out, like Billy McKinney has really stepped up. Tyrone gotten the call too, and made the most of it and is limited at bats. So I guess, like you said, that depth has been surprisingly good. And I'm really excited to see this team at full strength. If you look at the rest of the NL Central, we saw the Cincinnati Reds get off to a really hot start, but now they're sitting in the basement in the NL Central. The Cubs really don't seem worse than the previous years. I'm not too concerned about them. Obviously, the Pirates are Pirates, even though they're playing well. The Cardinals still seem like our number one, competition for the division title. And I really feel that even with the addition of Nolan Arenado, we're just better than them up and down the line. Just up and down the roster, especially at the top ends of our starting pitching and the back ends of our bullpen. I just think that we're a better team. I think that's the most exciting thing about seeing us, wrap up the first month of the season in such a good position, because I think our schedule does get easier. And I just think that in spite of the other really strong teams in the NL, like the Dodgers, Padres, and, the other teams in the NL East, I really feel that this Brewer team, if and when they make the playoffs, I think they're going to be a team no other team wants to play because of, there's no other way to slice it, but we've got at least an elite ace on our hands, and Corbin Burns, and I would say another ace for sure, and Brandon Woodruff. And if Freddie Peralta continues his progression also, you're talking about a pretty scary team to face in the playoffs, and you add on that the back of our bullpen, and we're going to be a great playoff team, I feel.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, it's only April, so I don't want to jump the gun on this too much. There's going to be highs and lows throughout the season. There's going to be stretches of time where we're not playing well and we're going to get frustrated. So, I think it's good to temper expectations, but certainly it's exciting to see, what this team has done in the past few weeks. And, when we were talking about the difficult schedule here in April for the Brewers, I think that we all would have been, fairly happy just kind of treading water, to be quite honest. A 500 start for the month, I think would have been, something that we all viewed as being a pretty decent thing and would have kept us in the race. But, as it stands, the Brewers are starting off the season hot in the toughest stretch, on paper at least. But again, lots of time left.
Yeah, and of course we've got to keep all of our key guys healthy, and once we get guys like Yelich.
Craig, none of our key guys are healthy besides Woodruff.
I was talking about the top of rotation type guys.
Yeah.
Isn't Bray
Anderson.
Well, but I mean, any large stretch with those guys, and of course, like we pointed out, this year starting pitching depth is going to be a more important throughout baseball than any other year, given the innings caps on most of these guys. So I guess that's my kind of main concern, because it doesn't look like Josh Lindblom should be starting in games anytime soon for us. So that really means that we're probably going to have to dip further down into our rotation depth, and we're talking about guys like Eric Lauer, who I think should be given an opportunity, and then we still have Jordan Zimmerman. Will be at AAA, and another guy that we signed, we may not have mentioned on our previous podcast, but Zach Godley's got some nice major league experience under his belt too. And then you got some of our I guess prospect pitchers, and Ethan Small, and a guy I'm really high on, Aaron Ashby. So those guys could all contribute if need be this year. So I feel that the organization has done a pretty good job of building some, if not quality depth, some pretty nice just overall depth at the starting rotation position too. But really, I think it's important to have our key guys stay healthy and stay dominant as they have been. It's unbelievably exciting to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys were talking about Freddie Peralta earlier and how he really kind of turned it around this year. Who else? Like, obviously, 2020, we made the playoffs just barely, but we had a lot of players that really may have hit their floor in 2020, or what we hope is their floor in 2020. Who is really showing signs of, like, who had a bad 2020, but who's really stepped up so far this year?
I think without a doubt,
Omar Narvaez.
Yeah, absolutely, Vince. That's what I was going to say. Omar Narvaez. We were really frustrated with him as an organization. We were excited to get him, but really had a terrible last year, kind of defensively and offensively. But I think he's been doing a phenomenal job on both sides this year, which is just awesome and a little bit unexpected. I think some people even thought Manny Pina might do a complete 50-50 timeshare with him this year due to his struggles last year. But Narvaez, I think, has shown that his worth. And I would like to even point out the fact that the catcher position is one of those that's probably the most underrated and most important positions in all of sports, to be quite honest, because these catchers not only do they have to do a great job defensively mainly, and then focus on their hitting as well, but they really have to call the games for these pitchers and learn and have to know the entire pitching staff, what is in everyone's arsenal, when to throw and what counts and against what hitters and all this stuff. So they really, I think, are kind of like masterminds. And I think Omar Narvaez really has done a great job. I think Corbin Burns even said on one of his recent starts, he only shook off Narvaez one time throughout the whole start. So you really see that these guys are in sync, and you got to give Narvaez credit for that.
Well, not only that, Craig, but you can see that the organization is, becoming more and more inclined to put their faith in our current catching duo of Narvaez and Pina, because the team designated Jacob Nottingham for assignment this week. Still, his destination is still unknown. I'm not sure if he's going to stay in the organization or not at this point. But the combination of that, and David Freitas was let go earlier this year. You're seeing that the team has kind of centered itself around keeping these two guys at the big league level. So that does show some faith in Narvaez. I think that there were some questions whether or not the team was even going to pick up his option after the 2020 season. It would have been a surprise if they didn't, but still, I think it was a possibility just because he had such a poor 2020. But, we're seeing, and this is, the larger point is that, with such a short, weird season in 2020, you really can't base much on those results. At least in my opinion, I think that you're seeing that, kind of play out this year on the field.
Well, and not only that, obviously worldwide pandemics are sort of like one of those things that you would put under like distractions. So, I mean, it is a little difficult. I mean, just like we even had like guys like Kane just being like, nope, no, this is not happening. So, I mean, it is tough to kind of battle through a year, especially like a shortened one like that, like you said. But mitigating circumstances, I guess.
Getting back to your question, Scott, also, you got to give some credit to Avi Garcia, too, who, after signing Jackie Bradley Jr., basically possibly was looking at being and also the lack of DH, obviously, going into this year, was going to probably push him into a bench role. But because of injuries and just basically his spring performance, he's getting everyday at-bats and making the most of them for sure. He's had a great start to the season, too. So you really feel that if those guys start to progress a little bit, the other guys that are injured or underperforming will step up, and I think our offense will level out quite a bit. Colton Wong is also really hot coming off the DL here, so again, just nice to see contributions throughout the lineup. Just overall really excited about this team so far from what I've seen.
Well, and not only that, I mean, there's obviously room for improvement. Even like it's not like our lineup top to bottom is just tearing the cover off the ball. I mean, we're hitting about actually as a team, I think we're hitting like 210, which is actually significantly better than the $190 or whatever we hit last year. But I mean, having said that, the hits have been a little more timely. You could see that we're being a little bit more patient at the plate, but I don't know. I mean, there's definitely room for improvement there. Actually, Jackie Bradley Jr., man, he's striking out an awful lot. He's not getting on base, which is not a good thing. But, it's early for him. New ballpark, new environment. So
he's a notoriously slow starter, too. I mean, if you look at his career just generally, I think that he's typically a guy that kind of comes on in the second half, and usually it takes him a month or two to really get going. So not sure if that's part of it or not. He did sign late with the Brewers, so he was not in spring training when it started. So, maybe that's part of it too, but he's done this before in other years, and it turned out pretty well for him.
Yeah. And also he's notoriously streaky as well. So, I mean, he can go on absolute, and that's why his batting average can uptick like up 100 points in a couple of days when he really gets hot or whatever too. At least that's been in his past. So, but yeah, I mean, really a lot of awesome things going on with this team. And I really feel that we're lucky to be in the NL Central, because I think that we're the hands down the best team in this division from what I've seen so far. And I know people ask themselves this all the time: has anyone ever seen someone pitch as well as Corbin Burnes is pitching right now in a Milwaukee Brewers uniform as a pitcher? And I honestly can say no, not in my lifetime. I mean, the closest would be Ben Sheets or Teddy Higuera maybe, but really, it's phenomenal.
I was going to say Teddy Higuera had a stretch in 1987, and Craig, I know that you were in college around that time. I don't really remember it too much, but I did see the numbers, and it was, he was outstanding during that stretch. Ben Sheets had games like that, where he was utterly dominant, but it's hard to remember, him stringing together 4 or 5, 6 consecutive starts that he was utterly dominant. And generally he had an injury at some point in that span as well. And I say that loving Ben Sheets, but it's just exciting to watch Corbin Burnes. And, one of the things that is kind of brought up in the telecast, pretty regularly is how much these guys challenge each other in the starting rotation. And it sounds like, there's a real cohesiveness to this unit. And I think that it's just exciting. And these guys being the age that they are and still cost controlled for a number of years, and Brewers property for a couple of years, it's really exciting because we can watch these guys grow and develop, and you're going to have setbacks when these guys, first came up, like we saw with both Woodruff and Burnes to a degree, but it's exciting to see that gel at this point.
Way back in 1987, when Teddy Higuera was on that streak, I was 9 years old, and I was getting in trouble for staying up late listening to Brewers games on the radio when I was supposed to be in bed. So. Yeah, totally worth it though. Totally worth it, Scott. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
back on my old clock radio, which those things no longer exist. I was doing the same thing, listening to Euchre and Pat Hughes and stuff. So yeah, absolutely. it just, the other thing that I guess I'm gonna give kudos, and this is as longtime Brewer fans, all three of us, and all of our listeners, I assume, how many years, or I guess decades, if you want to call it that way, have we waited as Brewer fans for us to develop our own draft and develop our own pitching, so to speak. I mean, obviously we drafted Ben Sheets in the first round, the top 10, and he became something, and Yovan Nagaria was a second round pick, but outside of that, in the last 20 years, just pointing that out, now not even counting the 15 to 20 years prior to that, there's been very little that we've been successfully able to, especially ace wise. And now you look at guys like Woodruff was drafted in the 11th round and Corbin Burns in the 4th round. And you look at what they're doing this year and where we got those guys and how they've developed and their arsenal. It's just unbelievable to see. And I have to just basically pinch myself to make sure I'm not dreaming that this is actually 2 aces the Brewers have developed in terms.
Right.
So kudos.
Well, and even Peralta too, Craig. I mean, Peralta, was acquired at such a young age. I think he was an A-ball when we got him, and
absolutely
acquired him for Adam Lind. So he really did come up mostly through the Brewers system, even though he was, originally Mariners property. But got another guy that the Brewers really developed into who he is today.
Oh yeah, absolutely, great point, Vince, as well. So, it's definitely exciting. So, I know that we're going to be tuning in just like all our listeners as we go forward through here in the season, but really cool to see them go out on a road trip out to San Diego and sweep the Padres. I mean, we've notoriously had some troubles on West Coast trips, but I feel that those days are behind us as we move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I have a little bit of it's not a big deal, so I'm not going to overhype it or anything like that. But I had some pretty good anonymous news. I'm not going to tell you where I got it from. No, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I have no idea.
Tom Carter? Well, Scott, he's our anonymous source. Tom Carter's our anonymous source. I mean, you can't not give him credit either. That's part of what we have to do is to cite sources. And it sounds like it's from Tom Carter, but go ahead.
All right. Yeah, I cannot confirm that it's from our anonymous source, Tom Carter, but I will say this. He did say that, and this is what is disappointing now because we're taping this podcast, and by the time we actually publish it, it was breaking news when we taped it, but or it was an inside information. But he did say that Yelich had his MRI, no structural damage, nothing really worries, nothing big, which is really good, obviously. I tried to pin down timetable on Yelich's return, and he said it could be as early as a couple days, but they might give him a full week. So it just depends on how he feels. Kind of touch and go. But I was like, oh, that's really good. Thanks, Tom. I really appreciate the inside information. But
yeah, and you were talking to Tom Carter, not Tom Hodgecourt, our colleague. That's clear.
What? I don't think Tom Harcourt knows this yet. But I have no idea. Some people say he's a really bad reporter. I disagree. I think he's nice sometimes.
Well,
I think he's a really bad social media person and a bad reporter. But
well, that's fine. We'll send him the tip in the mail. That'll be fine.
We did send him a terrible radio, and I think he really liked it. I think any journalist that obviously exchange Christmas cards are obviously pretty good friends and respect each other.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, let's get our Christmas card for sure.
That's good. I can't remember what you sent, but I think it was it might have been a 1990 Don Ross checklist and various other cards, but there were some. The checklists though are hard to get. Vince, you collect you build out these sets. Aren't the checklists kind of a hard card to get because so many people just pitch them?
They actually are, guys. I'm working on the 73 top set right now, and I've got most of it. I'm probably lacking about 50 or 60 cards at this point, and 2 of the cards that I'm missing are 2 of the 5 checklists from that year. So yeah, it is, Scott.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe our listeners can.
There you go.
Check your old baseball cards collections. Help Vincers out,
or your old Christmas cards from us. might have it.
That's right.
All right, well, I think that about wraps up for today's guys. Again, really excited about this team, and can't wait for us to get healthy. Besides TC's great inside information, I know Lorenzo Kane's due back here any day also, so really excited to get our team back to full strength and then go from there.
So guys, quick question. So with potentially 2 roster moves coming up, in the outfield, who do you guys think is going to be sent down? I'm guessing Taylor is one of the spots.
I would think Taylor and Ray. I mean, just because they have options.
Yeah, Ray.
And those are 2 guys that you kind of want to have regular at bats, because they're not.
See, I actually heard something from a source that says that it's possible, nothing definite yet, but maybe throw Keston Hiura into that mix because they might want him to make a few adjustments and at the minor league level while he struggles at the major league level. Not saying it's going to happen for sure, but it's been kicked around.
Although Keston had a pretty good series in Chicago. He had 3 hits in yesterday's game on the Saturday game, and he looked fine today as well. So I don't know. It'd be interesting. He's at least, started to pick it up a little bit.
Yeah, he may have saved himself a plane ticket.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
At least from what I heard.
With a guy that's already had success at the big league levels, like usually if you make a move like that, you really have to be sure that he needs to get those at bats down in the minors or at the alternative site because you don't want to mess with the guy's confidence. Sometimes that can be a real big blow to demote someone that's been at the majors for a couple of years already or whatever. But I mean, if he's not hitting major league pitching, he's not. So that's one thing. So I know that as far as the last couple of days, they were probably definitely considering it. But thanks TC for that information. But I really think Keston's going to be staying. So we'll see.
I didn't say Tom Carter said that.
So make sure that all of our
listeners. You just said a source. You didn't say an anonymous source.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. No, but it does kind of actually make me think back to a similar situation where we had like a really young, hyped rookie that was expected to do some great things, got off to a really rough start on the infield, and
Brad Nelson
sent him down. He made some adjustments. What's that?
Brad Nelson?
Kevin
I
was actually thinking of JJ Hardy. JJ, remember, like he was just, it seemed like in his first, 50, 100 at bats or whatever in the majors, he was just trying not to strike out. He was just like hitting everything into the ground, like just hitting everything on the ground in the infield. And like all of a sudden, like figured it out. He just started grooving pitches, and he wound up having, I think, more power in the majors than anyone would have expected from him as a minor leaguer. But that's just me. Craig probably saw it coming. I didn't.
Yeah, that's a good point, Scott. No, and JJ is a guy who did develop a little slow. He was brought up at a very young age too, whereas I think Hiura, I have to have our interns check this, but I think that Hiura had a little bit more time in the minor leagues than JJ did at that point. And the Brewers certainly didn't have the depth that we did, when Keston got called up. So, that's an interesting comparison. I'd like to see the stats on that.
Not only that though, but JJ, I think they really wanted up because it was like they had that core with like him and Weeks and Prince and Braun. Like they just had it seemed like they were just kind of bringing everybody up like at once. Like it was just great, like just to see all these people from the farm, like just coming up and contributing like that. But obviously different circumstances, but just throwing it out there. You never know. I mean, and I'm not saying like, it's not even a demotion. It's more like just like a hitting clinic.
Yeah, that's what I'll say when we get back to the minors. Okay, fellows, I'm here to put on a hitting clinic. All right, hopefully he puts on that clinic here at the major league level this week against the Marlins and the Dodgers. That'd be great, as we have a nice home.
Yeah, what are we seeing in terms of this week here, guys? Scotty, what are your predictions for the homestand?
I don't know. See, I have to hold true to this. I know this is terrible, but we are at home. But I said before most of these injuries happened that if we were 500 on May 2nd, I'd be thrilled because of how tough our schedule is to start the season. And with those injuries, I thought it'd be even worse. And yet here we are, 4 games over 500. This is a 7-game series. It's looking pretty good. So having said that, I'm going to say 4-3, but we're going to have to clean up on the Marlins. Not like I thought we were really going to need to clean up on the Pirates. We didn't get the job done with them, but hey, that's all right. We got through it. Now 4-3, I'd be real happy with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit more optimistic. I'll say we take 2 or 3 from Miami, and I'm gonna say we take 3 or 4 from the Dodgers at home. I don't know. I could be way off, but I'm feeling pretty good right now.
That's a nice homestand.
Yeah, I gotta run with the hot hand. I'm not thinking we're gonna necessarily sweep either team. The Marlins they were a playoff team last year. They're not a bad team by any stretch. And, I think they've got some talent. So I don't think it's a cakewalk like it was maybe, 4 or 5 years ago with Miami. But I still think that we win that series. And I think we're going to come out really fired up against the Dodgers. So let's hope for good things.
Yeah. I'll say that we take 2 against each of those clubs and have a nice homestand, 4-3. So, yeah. So, all right. Well, I guess all of our listeners, I don't know if you guys want to throw out our Twitter and all that stuff.
Brew Crew Review 1. Brew Crew Review 1.
Oh yeah, and we got some stuff on YouTube now too. You got
YouTube.
Craig, plug our YouTube stuff. What do we have on there now?
Yeah.
Oh, a whole bunch of stuff. Well, a lot of our old interviews from back at the Brew Crew Review. If you want to check any of the old interviews that we did, most of them are posted up there for you to check out.
Well, the Tim Dillard interview might be not necessarily taking off on YouTube, but it actually might be at this point our most listened to podcast. Like numbers are definitely getting a lot better. And honestly, I can't say that it's because of an improvement of anything that we've done. I think it's just because hopefully like a lot of you listeners are happy with the product and are, letting other people know about it and chatting us up. And that's honestly what's doing it. So we really thank you. And we'll try harder.
We'll try harder. Scott will try to get off of work a little earlier next time. But make sure to send any questions to Scott's interns at Brew Crew Review Podcasts with an S at gmail.com as well. Scotty, who has the sponsorship of the show this week?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. This episode sponsor is brought to you. I'm sorry. This episode of the Brew Crew Review is brought to you by Johnny V's. Unbelievable establishment. It is the place to be. It is the only place you should be at. If you are in West Dallas at 3 a.m., the only place where you should be is at Johnny V's.
Scott, they closed.
What? Oh man, I gotta cash that check. All right.
Yeah. Also, if you're in 3 a.m., if it's 3 a.m. and you're in West Dallas, you may have made a few wrong decisions in your life. But anyway, at least you're a Brewer fan.
What?
Thank you for listening.
Yeah. Well, sounds good, guys. Well, let's hope for a good homestand here, and hopefully this Brewers starting rotation magic continues. Looking forward to seeing what happens, and guys, it could be a very exciting season. I know it's early, but very optimistic about what we've seen so far. Yeah,
and we will have to agree that when the Brewers do throw their no-hitter this year, that we will come and do a podcast that same night. So, it's Scott's
100%.
hectic work schedule. So,
yep, yeah.
We might even have to we could do like anytime it goes in the there's a no hitter in the 8th inning, we could just instantly get on there and live react to it and then talk about it afterwards.
Just like the Doug Davis Johnny Estrada trade, Scott.
Yeah, and if we wind up I don't know, giving up a hit in the 9th, we'll just scrap it. No one will ever hear it.
Yeah, there we go. All right,
well, you could get it if you sign up with our Patreon for just X amount of dollars a month. I'm just kidding. We don't have that.
We should though.
Don't worry about it.
Good point.
If you feel like donating anything to us, please don't, and donate it to someone else. Donate it to your local animal shelter for no reason.
Yeah, or I'll take baseball cards on a personal level. But yeah, that sounds good. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Scotty. Thanks, Chad. Thanks, Craig. Thanks, Vikram. Go Brewers.
Thanks, guys. Go Brewers.
All right. Thanks, Wisconsin.
Over.
Stay classy. Do 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 do.